Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in.
Laurel Colless is an Australian New Zealander kids science fantasy fiction writer, sustainability advocate, and founder of the Carbon Busters Club, a program that blends storytelling and the arts to inspire climate action among children. With over 25 years in environmental business and journalism across Asia, US, and Europe, Laurel is an AI Go climate reality leader who has dedicated her life to making sustainability less about sacrifice and more about empowerment. Peter Blue book series introduces young readers to fantastical creatures called Anthrogs, demons born of garbage that take shape as killer storms, wildfires, and floods. Through these characters, Laurie helps kids safely explore the reality of climate change while fostering optimism and responsibility. Today, for National Read a New Book Month, she's here to share how books can shape the way kids and adults view the climate crisis and why reading might just be one of our best tools for change. Welcome to the podcast, Laurie.
Thank you so much, Wisdom. I've actually been listening to your podcast during the day to past episodes. And I really like the way that you're encouraging us to celebrate even the small things, the small wins. And so I applaud you for that, because the world at the moment, climate crisis is what I'm focused on, but we have at least 3 major wars and things, it's hard to be hopeful. And I think your idea of getting people to rally around small things and live a bit more in the now. I really applaud you for that. I think it's a fun idea, and I hope that your listeners agree.
I'm blushing. Thank you so much, Laurie. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you love the idea of my show. When I started reading the intro and I talked about Anthrogs, I remember you mentioned that you showed up late for the interview because of the storm where you're currently at. And I was like, maybe it's the Anthrogs that are attacking you.
I was second guessing myself. Like, is this their return? Because that is what we're dealing with now. I've just come out of a major storm. I'm here in the north in Helsinki in Finland. And it took everyone by surprise, and the traffic jammed, and I was 10 minutes late to talk to you, and I apologize for that. But it's illustrative, the kind of things that we're talking about. And in my books, which are for children, the Peter Blue series, 9 to 12-year-olds, I was trying to look for a way to make climate change and extreme weather into a villain. And I decided that fantasy fiction would be the best approach, so I created monsters and, they were coming back to haunt me this afternoon while I was racing across Helsinki to meet with you, Wisdom.
While I was just talking about these Anthrogs and everything, I remember this famous horror fiction writer for kids. If I hear his name, I will remember who he is. He wrote Goosebumps.
Roald Dahl, maybe? Roald Dahl, you could be thinking. Oh.
The author of Goosebumps.
Oh, right, yes. It'll come to me as well. He's extremely famous. He lives in New York. Fantastic person.
Yeah, there's a book where the characters come to like hunt him and try to fight him and all that. And I'm like, are you sure that's not what's happening? You never know. that would be an exciting idea for a book. I'm just saying it now. Where all those characters you've created in the book, they come to say, why were you talking about this? And they try to disrupt your day and your lifestyle.
Yeah. He's a classic. He's a very funny guy. We'll get his name by the end of the conversation, I bet.
Yeah. I should probably search that. Yeah. That should take a Goosebumps.
The Goosebumps series and the Fear Street. He wrote also for young adults, the Fear Street.
Oh, I think R.L. Stein.
Yeah, Stein. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I would love to one day be in his shoes in terms of the kind of readership that he has and global recognition.
It seems he's still
anyway.
alive.
Books. I'm happy to talk about everyone's books, not just my own, because when I got started on this journey, I was actually very late to writing. I had a career in the corporate world I did study comparative literature at university in my 20s.
Oh, yeah. First time I'm seeing someone
so,
who studied comparative literature.
I was supposed to be a writer at some point, but I guess I went off and got life experience, so 25 to 30 years.
Yeah, for the books.
In the corporate world and traveling the world, and worked actually on 4 different continents. And now I've circled back to writing. And I've decided that even though my goal is to entertain children and to get them reading again and to promote literacy, which I don't know how much data you consume, Wisdom, on a daily basis, but the reading scores for the age group I'm targeting, 9 to 12-year-olds, is really worldwide, really sobering reading. The reading literacy is way down around the world, particularly in the US and the UK. So I'm addressing literacy. I want to get kids reading, but I also want to entertain them, obviously. I mean,
yeah, of course.
I think reading, I mean, we're here to talk about books, right? So I really want a kid to pick up a book and to escape into it and be entertained. That's the goal. But of course, if you can get them closer to nature or have, give them more agency in terms of addressing big world crises like the climate crisis, I'm very happy as well.
In the intro, I talked about Peter Blue's series. Before we go into the questions I did prepare for the book, outside Peter Blue's series, what other book would you recommend and do you think every child or parent should read to better understand our planet's future?
Outside of my own series? Well, see, I started writing my series because I was a bit worried that there wasn't.
Wow.
That there weren't, specifically in this sweet spot of looking at the climate crisis, extreme weather. However, obviously, I mean, we have, if it's children, because, well, I mean, I grew up with, my parents are both teachers, and I grew up with the Cat in the Hat series, which is, it has something for everyone. And there is one book which is not as well known as, if you've heard of Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, I've heard of Dr. Seuss. Yeah.
So he's a global sensation. He brought up generations of children, and we're still reading his books. I was brought up with them. They're great ways to learn to read because they're so entertaining. You just can't stop. And he has a simple collection of a finite number of words that children need in early reading, and he sticks to those. He uses the rhyming couplets, and there is one rather famous book, which I think Disney, or I could be wrong if it was Disney, or anyway, someone in Hollywood made it into a recognizable movie it's called The Lorax, Lorax. And that has a wonderful, if you wanted to choose one book, which is sort of for a general children's readership, you can bring along the 5-year-olds if it's a read aloud, or you can do co-reading, or you can have an older child read the book themselves. And that's the Lorax, Lorax, which has a very strong climate message. It's sort of deforestation, and it's looking at overconsumption and all the problems that I'm also trying to address with these monsters I've created. And so I'm definitely influenced by Dr. Seuss. Everyone who hasn't heard of him should go straight away. If you have children, or if you are a child, look him up. You'll find something with a life lesson in it that's also entertaining.
Yeah. How do kids respond? Well, your book takes complex issues like climate change, and it tells it through an entertainment fantasy. So far you've written the books, and you've written so many books in the series. How do kids respond?
Well, I've made it simple for them because what I've done is I've created this secret school. It's a secret school for the world's top eco kids. So everyone is from everywhere. So I'm not exploring any cultures or religions or sort of specific, nationalistic ideas. It's all the school and the culture of this secret school. And the kids are basically like any kid that you'll meet. They're not necessarily really courageous, and they're not necessarily brilliantly smart, but, they have to show up because they're training, to take on these big world problems, which, by the way, the adult generation, me included, are leaving behind for them. So it's a version of today's reality with this slightly fantastical overlay, which are the monsters. Because how else do you make climate change into a villain? I've created these sort of nature spirits gone rogue, and they're born out of garbage dumps, and they're born out of human overconsumption, pollution, and all the problems that contribute to what we call anthropogenic climate change.
Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind-the-scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
99% of, despite what you might hear coming out of countries like the US, 99% of the world's scientists have agreed upon that we're dealing with human-made climate change, average global temperatures rising. So I didn't want to go into the science. I never mentioned the phrase climate change in the books. It's about confronting these monsters and basically having, So my reader,
if I search all through the book, there's no mention of the word climate change in the book.
No, it's a fantasy novel. So there are
Was
kids
it
in the
intentional?
school.
Like even in the chats, conversation, dialogue, no mention of climate change.
Oh yeah, okay. But no, because basically we're living in a version of today's world where the Anthrogs are these bad guys, and that we understand, that the kids understand scientifically, that they're born out of human pollution.
Okay.
So in the most recent book, the monster is a sea beast, which is a kind of biblical leviathan that shows up on the water. And that is born from microplastics. It's a blind monster born 4 miles down, where we now know that our trash has gathered as microplastics on the ocean floor, for example. So, I'm leaning into science, but I'm not turning it into a treatise on addressing climate change, because I think that would be boring. So it's kids at school having all the same kind of interactive kids problems, and learning to work in a team and all the different personalities. And I'm having, there's a lot of fun and humor as well, despite the sort of dark elements that by perforce, come out of the storytelling.
Wow.
So I didn't really answer your question. The readers sort of can identify with the kids. So I tried to have a bunch of very different protagonists. Peter Blue is my main protagonist. He's maybe a bit sensitive. He's not a regular sort of superhero type. But he's very sensitive and it's a bit philosophical. And then there are other kids with different strengths. And my hope, and everyone is quite diverse, so my hope is that any reader anywhere in the world will pick up this book and at least in one of the characters see a version of themselves. And then maybe even more importantly, see a lot of different, kids who are quite different to them, and have a chance to get inside their heads. So I think that's actually one of the most important things about reading, since we are talking about picking up a book and celebrating reading in September. I think if children pick up a book and, get alone in their book and go deep into it, they can feel empathy. They can learn, to even expand their empathetic skills, these kind of soft skills, where they get inside other their characters, their fictional characters, but they get inside their heads, see how they think, see how they interact with the world, compare it with their own. There's lots of opportunities for developing their creativity as they read. And at the same time, they're being entertained. They get to feel like they're not alone. They're living inside this story, and they can feel, entertained, and maybe even expand their own sense of what's possible, and see what other people are doing. So that's kind of part of what I'm trying to achieve with the books, and obviously that comes down to literacy, because children are reading less for entertainment. The latest statistics, I think, was only in the UK, I don't remember the exact numbers, but only 30% of children polled between 11 and 18 said they ever read for enjoyment now. So they're always on their phones, which is sad, or they're streaming something. So I'm glad that you're holding up the banner for books.
Yeah, well, while you were answering one of the questions I asked, you mentioned that there was a gap you saw that you were like, okay, let me write a book to fill that gap. And for me, the question is, how do you see books, right? Particularly, we're talking about middle grade fiction, filling the gap that schools and governments often leave in climate education.
Well, what I've done is, even though, I've been telling you that it's fantasy fiction, it's very sort of science oriented. So when I'm putting together my plots, quite complicated plots, I'm thinking about how different scenarios in the books could springboard into a real science class, into a real STEM activity. It could be an experiment where you would do a real world experiment based on something which was kind of maybe more fantastical in the book. It could be also a social studies class, or even a theater drama. And it could still have this overlay of getting closer to nature and exploring environmental issues and our relationship with nature, or just loving nature more. So, there are different ways that all the parts of a Peter Blue story can springboard into the classroom. And I'm very mindful of that. And actually, my next project is going to be to start developing journals with real educational activities. I've been working with science teachers already in the Carbon Busters Club to look at activities that, spark creativity and spark this return to nature.
Yeah, I like the fact that it says if you want to change the world, start with yourself, and you're trying to see what can I do to fix the gap versus the government is this and the government is not doing this, and I'm like okay, and so what happens? So like okay, so what are you doing, right? And instead you went on to tell me what you're doing, the little things how you're putting people together, collaborating with other persons, just to help fill the gap in the capacity you can. Before we talk about Carbon Busters Club, what do you think is the role of stories, particularly the kind of Peter Blue and other books, whether for kids or adults, that will help turn echo sadness, right, into echo action?
That is that's a perfect question to ask me, because that's kind of my raison d'etre, to go back to storytelling. So I was working with the Carbon Busters clubs, which were more. I know you said we're going to come to that, but if I start with when I left, I sort of pivoted out of the grown-up world. Well, I still have a day job. I still have my own company where I do some consulting, but I pivoted away from working in sustainable technology in the corporate world to start working with kids, because I was so frustrated about the lack of change, or the speed, at least, of change. And when you talked, I had my own children by then, and my own children were alarmed when they heard about deforestation, or they heard about the climate crisis at school. And then they saw that people in the grown-up world, in the community, in the schools, my husband and myself, what are you doing? Why aren't people? I mean, they were so surprised that, we just get this well, I shouldn't talk for all adults, but adults have other things on their plate as well, right? You're running a family, trying to earn enough money to feed your kids, and you can't always be thinking about recycling. You have to think about, just getting through the day sometimes, and getting the children into bed and healthy. So children are, especially of the age group that I'm targeting, 9 to 12-year-olds, they still believe in the magic of nature, and they also are very hopeful. And when they hear about an urgent problem, they can't wait to jump in with one of their big ideas, try to fix it. So I was very drawn to that. And but with the Carbon Busters Club, we decided to try to teach climate science with all kinds of experiments and different ways of showing them. And then we began with very short storytelling, like a few of my characters I started to develop. And we found that the storytelling was the one thing where they all sat quietly and they wanted to hear more, and they were maybe most engaged. And so I eventually started to write the stories. They came from doing these volunteer clubs that I did in schools, in 16 schools during a period between 2013 and 2017. So it was the storytelling. And, I think most people agree that, well, human beings are storytelling is in our DNA, isn't it? From the campfires when we were still warriors in the forest to today. Use a story to try to make sense of who we are. We tell each other stories to try to understand big problems like the climate crisis, big urgent problems. We try to make sense of them sometimes through telling each other stories, and that's what I'm trying to do with the upcoming generation, uh, and maybe make it more palatable, and also at the same time entertain and educate them. That was the goal, anyway. I hope that's what I'm achieving. I'm on book 4 now, and still going.
Yeah, well, your story, it's inspiring. And, it just goes on to show that if you want to change the world, start with yourself, right? And you writing the book, you created a club. And when you talked about 2020 to 2013 to 2017, I wasn't quite sure. Is the blog club? Why is all the words just mixed up in my mouth? Is the club still running?
Well, I've moved countries now. I'm living in Finland. I launched the clubs in Greece, in Athens, when I was living there for 5 years, and now I'm in Finland. And the schools here are very advanced already in eco education. So what I'm doing is, yes, the clubs still exist, but they're not active at the moment. But I'm teamed up with a group of EU science teachers who want to team up with me. I'm the storyteller, they're the science teachers, and we're looking around for EU funding to get another larger program off the ground. And in this time, instead of a teaching program for 9 to 12-year-olds, we're targeting a train the trainer program for older youth, 19 to 30, 18 to 30. So yes and no, I'm not active, but I'm working on the books, and I'm definitely not giving up on the clubs. They're in hiatus while we get another funding round. Because the first round, I got funding from the Greek government to go into 16 schools, and that was now 5 years ago. So I've started on the writing, and who knows? I think I'd like to get into journals, as I said, and then maybe the content that comes out of the books on the teaching side can circle back into the clubs. So I'm kind of in this place where I've got a lot of big ideas and big ambitions, and I'm trying to just get things done. I think. Well, I think that we take one day at a time is something I've also heard you say on your podcast. See what I can achieve. I get up early, start writing. I think you did say something about celebrating each day and looking at achievements. I think that's really wise.
It's all coming back now. It's all coming back now. It's all coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I just say one thing, because I was thinking about celebration. And one of the things we did in the clubs was not that we celebrated per se, because we're talking about kind of a serious, somewhat scary and urgent problem. But what we tried to do is, when the children were doing something, well, you could say a birthday party, but say a sports event. Maybe I'm just talking to any of your listeners who's a parent or a caregiver or has children in their lives somehow, if you're a sports coach, or maybe you teach scouts, or maybe you have a book club for kids, or maybe you just have kids in your neighborhood that are hanging out in your backyard. I don't know. But one thing you can do is have this kind of celebration, but add this eco layer to it. So if you're a parent and you're running a birthday party for your child on Saturday, you could add an eco layer to the celebration. That's what I've been telling parents of some of the kids who come to the clubs, that it's not some kind of suffering. Like you said, the government is doing this or that. The government's telling me I can't eat meat and I can't drive my car and I must never go on holiday on an airplane. No, you find things where you have your own agency. Like my agency was being able to write or to work with children. So I started working in that direction. If you're a soccer coach and you have a kids team, maybe you could do a zero net emissions match where everyone tries to come on the bus or on public transport, and you have solar light at the field. Just make a kind of a ceremony out of it. You make an event and a fun celebration of saving the earth, and you pull everyone together and you do it together, and you sort of teach the kids that you can have teamwork even off the field. Maybe you do a zero waste match where you bring your reusable water bottle and then you clean up the pitch afterwards and recycle the trash. Or you do a birthday party where kids go off into nature and do a nature hunt. And because they love their phones, you could have them searching lists, the old scavenger hunt. You would have them searching for a certain tree or a certain leaf, certain flower, and they could use apps on their phone so they would feel still connected with their tech identity, but they would be in nature and getting closer to nature and having a kind of birthday fun event. This is the kind of thing that you might want to talk about in a separate podcast about celebrations that have an extra purpose attached to them, but are still totally fun based.
Yeah. Sooner or later, we'll talk about, a holiday that's related to climate change. Well, I love the fact that, one of the really powerful questions in life, and this is not just about celebrations or climate changes. A lot of the times people ask themselves, what will we do or what should we do? And I feel like that's the wrong question to be asking, because most times what should be done is not exactly what we can do. So instead we should be asking ourselves, what can we do? I'll give an example. What should be done is the grand ideas that there should be zero waste. There should be, everything should be like, that's what should be done. But and I know that that will take a long time, right? But when we ask, what can we do? We're like, okay, let's make sure we keep the environment clean. Let's organize, the team to do what they call environmental cleanup, to create sensitization and all that. And let's play a match to raise funds for non-profits. These are things that we can do. We should put a law in the government. I'm like, no, that's nice, but let's focus on what we can do versus what, quote unquote, should be done or will be done.
Although,
thank you so much.
If someone out there listening does have the ear of a politician, by all means, that's your agency, right?
If that's what you can do, do it.
That's what you can do. Do it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Do the thing that makes good sense for you, and also that enriches your life and even improves your life. You can make big changes for the environment that have rich benefits for you personally if you choose well. For example, I'm just talking about even simple things like when you switch to riding your bike to work for 3 days a week, or you just make a small change like walking to the office once a week, or anything like that can actually also have huge health benefits. Or sending your children out into nature for a party game is also going to be very good for their health. But we know more about getting into a forest and all the biomes that you get onto your body that are actually very good for working against allergies and just general health. So look for those positive win-win decisions you can make and make it fun and celebrate.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love your whole message being about that sustainability doesn't have to feel like punishment. And
exactly.
Because that's when a lot of people hear politicians like, their face just changes. Like, I'm like, no, it's fun, right? It can be a game, and I love what you're doing in your own capacity to bring that to a lot of persons. Thank you so much, Laura.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I did prepare a lightly round, a set of quick, fun, and fire questions that require quick, fun, and fire answers. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. What's your favorite book you loved as a child?
Oh, as a child, so easy. I loved all the Enid Blyton famous 5 mystery stories. I don't know if you've heard of them, but you might be too young. But Enid Blyton, the English writer, the 5 kids who go off on adventures and they solve mysteries together. And I'm sure there's a bit of those kids in my characters today.
Yeah. Okay. What's a kid's book other than yours you think every parent should read aloud?
To read aloud. So to read aloud, I have to send you back to Dr. Seuss because it's all rhyming verse and it's hilarious. And the pictures, his own illustrations are wonderful. So Dr. Seuss, I'm probably not pronouncing it exactly correctly.
Yeah, it's Seuss.
Seuss. Yeah, absolutely.
Print, ebook, or audiobook for kids, which do you recommend?
Well, I mean, if you're in the car with them, play a piece from the audio. If you're sitting in bed before bedtime, then, do a co-read with two kids in the bed, or your parent in the middle, or get the kid to read and the others to listen. Or if they're different ages, then I think it's very nice to curl up with an actual physical book in bed at night, and to encourage that, because I don't want to start talking about blue lights and screens, but even if that blue lights thing is a myth, I think it's so nice to have a physical book in your hand before you sleep. If you're on your phone all day, but if the ebook is all you have, ebooks are fantastic as well. If you can get it onto a Kindle and put it in front of a kid on an airplane, absolutely.
Okay. Who's your favorite fantasy author growing up?
My favorite fantasy author?
Growing up, while you were growing up, who was your favorite fantasy author?
Now or when I was young?
When you were growing up, yeah, growing up.
Well, I mean, maybe I'll say C.S. Lewis, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, if I have to choose, but there's so many.
Okay. What's a climate or sustainability book adults should read this month?
Again, there are so many. I really, if you've got, is your audience mostly adults? There's a fantastic best book ever written by Rachel Carson, but in the 60s, she wrote a book called The Silent Spring. The Silent Spring. And it's a classic. It was a classic game changer in the US, really shining light on the chemicals we use. And she was a very gifted scientist and a beautiful writer. And the Silent Spring by Rachel Carson, for the adults in the room to have a look and to share parts with their children if they can. That's definitely the book that sort of launched the environmental movement in the US, which then spread globally, in my opinion.
Yeah. What's the most surprising reaction you've had from a child reader of Peter Blue?
Surprising reaction. Surprising. Well, I mean, can I turn it and say one that surprised me was in my books, every child on the first day of school during orientation, they get a tree assigned to them, and it's a tree which they have to tend, and which is forever their it's an extension of themselves. And the tree is usually very much suited to the personality and way of the person. And so one of my readers actually went out into the forest and chose a tree for themselves, which I found very endearing. And I was very surprised by, but I found it endearing, because I think if any child will find a tree in the neighborhood and befriend it, it's only going to enrich their lives.
Yeah. I love that idea. What's a children's character from any book? What's a children's character from any book you wish you could recruit into the Carbon Busters Club?
Oh gosh, you're putting me on the spot. As soon as we come off the show, I'll think of the one that I really, really want. Someone evil, maybe. Who's a famous evil character? Maybe Voldemort.
I was hoping you say Harry Potter.
Well, I mean, people have called in some of the reviews I've had, editorial reviews from places like Kirkus Reviews, have compared the books and called my stories a Hogwarts with the magic of the environment. So
yeah. Well, if Anthrogs were real, which one would be the hardest to defeat?
Probably the Stormlords, because the Stormlords are a big kind of well, they're like hurricanes, or what you might call cyclones in South Asia, and they have these oscillating weather warriors around them, rain bombs and hail stones and renegales. These are really out of control winds, and they come as a big sort of ready-made storm, which is sort of a plus category 10 storm, and they're very smart and difficult to kill.
Well, what's one book you wish you had written?
Which one do I wish? You mean in terms of the Anthrogs, or what? Which book?
No, what you wish you had written.
So a book that I've read that I wish I had written?
What's a book you wish you had written? Like you just wish that.
Why don't I just go straight in and say the Harry Potter #1, one of the best books ever written in the history of middle grade and young adult literature. I'll just go with that.
Okay. If your life
Thank you,
right
J.K.
now,
Rowling, for doing that for the world, actually.
if your life right now were the title of a kid's book, what would it be?
The title of a kid. These are such tricky questions. So the title of a kid's book.
Did you get the question? Let me say it again. If your life right now, currently, if it was the title of a kid's book, what would it be?
All right. I mean, title of a kid's book. I think it would have to be something to do with hope. But it should be a humorous version of something to do with hope or being optimistic. So
should I rephrase the question?
Yeah. What?
Should I rephrase the question so you can answer it better?
No, but my life is now kind of a tangled mess of ambition and
If you had to write a memoir, but for kids, about your life right now, if you were to write a memoir, but for kids, about your life right now, what would you call the book? What would be the title of the book?
Maybe it would be something like, "My God, I created a monster."
Ooh, that's wow. Okay, that's the last question. Thank you so much.
Oh no, we're not finishing on that, are we? Oh well. Okay.
Oh my God! I created a monster. Wow. Are you sure these characters they're not chasing you? The characters you created in the book.
Don't start on me. Come on. No,
because now I'm seeing signs. Like I'm seeing signs. Okay, you can always speak up.
You're teasing me.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Laurie.
Thank you.
I'm so glad we were able to do
this
the
was
interview.
really fun, and again,
everything worked out fine.
I'm glad I made it out of the storm, and we got to talk.
Everything. We can listeners learn more
and you're
about
fun
the
to
book.
talk to. They were tricky questions at the end.
Are
you going to edit? You're going to edit out some of the stupid things?
There was no I don't know what you define stupid, but there was no stupid thing in the episode, other than the part where I was like saying of me talking about we're supposed to go through the interview and other parts. Every other part is intact.
Oh, and you did everything you said was good.
Okay, so
maybe it's fine.
Wait. If everything I said was good, so who then said something stupid? Because now I'm trying to say I don't understand what's going on.
Well, maybe in those last questions at the end when you asked me about a book of my life, that was very tricky. Yeah,
that's the fun. That's the whole idea of the quickfire lightning round. It's meant to
you really throw people off balance.
For you to bring out your personality and see, how is it going, and the title of the book will get people to understand. Oh yeah, what's the life like? Very hard me to ask you, what's your life going to look like? I'm like, okay, what title of the book? That way, people say, okay, so that's what it feels like, right?
That was fun, actually. I'm going to write that memoir now.
Yeah, please, when you do, let me know. I'd love to interview you and talk about the book.
Yeah. And where are you based actually now? Are you?
I'm calling from Nigeria.
Nigeria? Okay, so you have a lot of problems, political, but how about the climate? Is it being addressed?
See that breathe in and breathe out? That's the response I have. See, I breathe in, that deep breath and breathe out. I'm like, there's so many problems. And I'm like, right now, climate is like how do I put it now? There's so much pressing problems that in terms of the government and all that, it's in their priority list, nobody you see that
but
nobody
I understand
really cares.
that there are so many other problems. And also,
but it's very important.
And also, you're inheriting extreme weather events that are made by sort of developed countries over the last 100 years. So not of your problems, not of your own making.
Yeah. Before I forget, where can people learn more about you and connect with you? Learn about what you do and connect with you. What am I saying?
Well, I think the most important thing for me, if you're going to put anything in the show notes, would just be a link to maybe a link to my website, www.laurelcolless.com. Laurel Colless, one word.com. And there you can flick through to Amazon if anyone was going to buy the ebook or buy a paperback. But
I'll do that.
I think it was just more nice to talk to your audience about the celebrations, and adding this eco layer to a celebration, I think, is a great way to associate this problem also with hope and with agency and action. Those are important as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life's special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.